The longer we hold this, the dollar, the more of a losing proposition it is. It's inevitable. The value of the dollar will continue to decline as it has since 1913, and it is punishing us from both ends, from the saving end to the spending end. And we're going to talk about the only solution, the only thing that can defeat inflation and kill it straight off with gold and silver in this video as we explore. Gold and silver is the ultimate solution that can protect you against inflation. It is indeed an inflation killer. Why? Well, because let's take a look back at the dollar. The dollar is inflating at a rate of 3.2% as of the recording of this video, and that is actually down from 3.7% last time it was measured. But when we take that into account, we must look at the statistics and really how this is measured. What are they looking at there? They're looking at the growth of inflation, the growth of the loss of the value of the dollar as it was measured from a year before. In other words, 3.2% is stacked upon whatever it was a year before that, which was probably likely, 5-6% or somewhere thereabouts. The peak was 9.1%. So in other words, inflation is still growing. Even in the most optimal circumstances, inflation is around 2%. That's the target. The Federal Reserve is okay with that. But are you okay with that? Apparently most Americans are, because it's been ingrained on us. Because these dollars can buy less and less, about 99% less than what they could back when the Federal Reserve Act was enacted back in December of 1913. Therefore, that leaves us with the only solution to be able to protect ourselves against inflation. And really, the only way to do it is to find a way to not only save these dollars, but to save them in a way that protects the value of them. And right now, there's not many options out there that are doing that great of a job of it. Because if you put your money in savings, well, that's paying far less than 1%, which is a losing proposition by holding it in a bank, where those dollars can be used to be loaned out to other people, and where you are essentially getting penalized for it by the loss of the value. The only other savings vehicles that are available that are safe, you're still penalized for, because if you take them into a certificate of deposit, you have to keep them in that account for a certain amount of time before you can realize the accumulated interest rate, which is barely hanging on to inflation levels at this time. And then there's money markets, which penalize you with a minimum balance and only so many withdrawals you can make in a period of time. And those interest rates are much lower. Now, we also have bonds and the like too, but those are becoming less attractive with the Federal Reserve buying lots of those. So no matter how you slice it, holding dollars and safely is really a losing proposition, and there's penalties involved because we're being punished. And essentially, it is a hidden tax. A hidden tax, inflation is. And this is why the cost of goods and services and to do business is increasing from everything, including fuel cost. And that's why gold and silver come into play. Moody's just downgraded the U.S. credit outlook to negative, and the reason is polarization. It's important to truly grasp that the world is afraid not of the size of the national debt so much, but of the lack of any plan to deal with it or willingness by either party to even address the issue. And it scares many of us, especially investors, and that means that for the next 5 to 7 years at the very least, the dollar will lose 4 to 5% more per year. Inflation is really here to stay, and that will wipe out 30% of your savings after tax. That's a lot of debasement, and it means that mining stocks are about to finally go on a parabolic spike. Our good friends at wealthresearchgroup.com have kindly put together an exclusive report detailing exactly why, what, and when. So in this sponsored portion of the video, I encourage you to download the report for free, no cost, at wealthresearchgroup.com/boom. I'll post that link down in the description below, because we need to protect ourselves, folks. And there's multiple ways to do that within the precious metal space. But the hard physical assets, such as you see here, are indeed inflation killers. And why is that? Well, because of their value. Their value transcends price. You've heard me talk about that before, because the prices do fluctuate. But you know, the prices have only been a point of measure of value for gold and silver ever since the markets were a thing. The spot price, and of course we also have futures and ETFs and the like, and a lot of that is based off the derivatives market. And that kind of thing really greatly suppresses the understanding of the value of these metals, because for most of human history, they themselves have been money, and they've been utilized as currency for thousands of years. It was really only until recent history that they were not. But notwithstanding, does that mean we should have this narrow window of a frame of reference for gold and silver to be protectors against inflation? Many people scoff at the idea that gold, and especially silver, can protect you from inflation, but indeed it can, even by measure by the data that they provide, the spot price over the course of time. Of course, a lot of it depends on how you buy, and we all live in a very small window in terms of the grand scheme of history. But when you take into account how silver and gold have performed over the course of years, we can see that they definitely have proven themselves, even in this current state of the economy, and even in this and how we measure wealth and prices of goods and services. They have stood the test of time, no matter what kind of technological developments, other asset classes, other decentralized digital currencies and that are out there. Gold and silver will win in the end. What does winning mean? It means a store of value, a savings vehicle, an insurance against economic instability, and yes, even inflation. It can kill inflation. But here's another thing, too, that I think you should understand with regards to gold and silver. Not only will they protect you against inflation, they can also protect you against deflation as well. I outlined that in another video as well that I hope you will consider checking out. But nonetheless, in the end and in the beginning and anywhere in between, the true test of an asset class is not only the fact that it will protect you against those things. We have a hint, we have an idea that they will do so just by their mere physical properties. Silver, though seen as an industrial metal mostly these days, it does have many attributes of money. In fact, it has all the attributes of money. But not only that, but its amazing reflectivity and conductivity and malleability make it a perfect metal for the most diverse of applications out there. Silver is an amazing metal. Gold has many of those attributes, although honestly it's not nearly as good as silver in that regard. And because it is much more rare, it makes it much more impractical to use. Not only that, but its cost compared to silver, which means that gold has many of those attributes, and as a store of value, many central banks understand this, and they actually take the time and the energy to continue to store it and to add to the reserves, as they have done in record amounts over the past 2 years now. It's amazing to see how these metals have performed both differently and in conjunction with each other as inflation killers. And I think that is something to be proud of if you hold these metals. Why do we hold these metals? We hold them because they are self-evident. They will protect us against economic instability. They will protect us as a store of value and as a savings vehicle, as an insurance policy. And that is the best we can hope for, and that's what we should hope for. They're not going to make you rich, but they will preserve the riches that you have. They themselves are indeed wealth. They are mentioned hundreds of times in the Bible, And Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution recognized them indeed as money. Monetary metals, though they may be dormant now as terms of being utilized for everyday transactions, they indeed are protectors of wealth and shall continue to be for thousands of years to come. No matter what society does, no matter how the world turns out, gold and silver shall remain. And I think that's the beautiful thing about these metals. And this is one reason why I continue to hold them and will treasure them in my portfolio. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section down below. I hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. And I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.